Hey, I've been using a Tracksaw now for about 20 years, and I'm going to show you in this video a bunch of tips, tricks, and some finesse of using a Tracksaw. So stay tuned.
All right, so what's first, Sedge?
Okay, so I'm going to go through some really fine tips that I have learned to make our lives easier using a Tracksaw.
All right.
So the dust extraction connection on the TS saws, okay, and you lock it in like this. But what I like to do, because sometimes that's a little tight space, it's just weird, is I know I'm going to be doing a lot of ripping. I put it on like this, and then I take it and swivel it on like this. It's a lot easier.
Well, okay.
Okay. Another small tip that I use all the time is I put the cord and the hose up around my arm. It's just a quick loop like this, so it'll never get in the way.
All right, Sedge, am I doing this right?
Yeah, you got it all set up, but what I want to point out is this. Come in here, Chris. Big D, I just want you to plunge. Don't turn it on, okay? You always check to see if that blade is forward of the board you're cutting. And the reason for that is because if you had started this on the board, it might kick on you. So that is a great finesse tip. Always start prior to entering the wood. Big D, thanks for letting me step in here, because there's another thing I want to point out to everybody. It's kind of like using a handsaw or a hand plane. This is your tote. Just think of it like that. You have 3 fingers in the tote. This finger is pointing forward. This is how you release the plunge, and then you can cycle it on with this. Sounds oversimplified, right? A little bit. But over the years, I have heard so many daggone times, I think my rail has a bow in it. I think it's bent. It's not. It's how you're using the saw. You always use a handsaw in line, okay? That way there you can aim it, and you don't have any forward or lateral torque with it. So I'm just going to simulate this. When you're cutting with the Tracksaw, don't cut to the side. You are pushing the rail ever so slightly, even if you have it clamped, so you get behind it, just like this, and let the saw cut.
All right, Sedge. So with the first cut, how much should I take off?
Okay, so you want to capture the cut, and in saying that, the reason you do that is because if you left half a blade, you'll have sawdust all over. So if you capture the cut, then it's in between and you get great dust extraction. So what I like to do is I just use this. It's a limit stop. It's for plunge cutting. Okay. But you have this offset here. And that's 6 millimeters. So I just go like this. And that initial cut, I'm just ripping 6 millimeters off, just like that.
Perfect.
So let's get that set up on the rail.
All right.
Wow. That's about the best cut I've ever seen.
All right, Sedge, here's one for you. Should I clamp the rail?
Ah, the question of all questions. It all depends. Okay, so I think you know I didn't clamp it, or we didn't clamp it, ripping plywood. I very rarely do, okay, because the strips on the bottom really hold it to this. And I don't want to say plywood is dead flat. It really isn't. It has undulations in it. But where I always clamp it is right here, and we'll show you this in a minute. Is when I'm we're straight line ripping hardwood, getting ready for the table saw and getting a perfect edge on there, or joining. I always clamp it because that piece of rough lumber has a lot of undulations in it and twists. Go ahead, Big D. Let's get it clamped on this piece of hardwood cherry. And he's going to take it, he's going to bring it right up and lock it in. Perfect. Okay, now come down here, Chris. I want to show you this. I got it on my STM and my MFT, and that's my ripping station for today. Okay, now he has it over there, but look, we have movement here, right? Here's a little tip I've learned over the years, whether you lock it to any kind of sawhorse system or cutting station system. What I like to do is when I lock this one, I bring it here and lock it. So now that impedes the forward momentum of our ripping. Okay, so same thing, I'm gonna rip this, guys. I always check to see if I'm forward of that cut, and then I'm just gonna cycle it on. And I'm gonna tell you, that new 1.8 millimeter blade, and that's a 42 tooth. It's not your traditional ripping blade. It makes an incredible difference on this TS60. It's amazing. Huh?
Wow. You know, Sedge, I think that's about the best cut I've ever seen.
You're damn skippy.
All right, Sedge, so I want to do a couple of quick 90-degree cuts. Do I have to set up an MFT to do that?
Yeah, you're pretty tight quartered in your shop at home, and you don't leave your MFT set up all the time?
No, sir.
Okay, so sometimes you just need a quick 90 on something. Well, we just straight line rip this, okay? What we need to do is we need to get a 90 on here. Okay, now, I always used to set up my MFT3 for 90s on pieces of plywood. If it's less than 12 inches or 300 millimeter, I would go to my Capex because I could get a perfect 90 that way. So what I'd like to do, go ahead, hold this saw.
Yes, sir.
Is I started using, because I use this big square here with these 2 points to square up my MFT3 every time, but I put this piece on here. So, and this is a triangle adapter, so I can bring that right over and get a perfect 90.
Oh, wow.
And what you do is you just set the saw on here like this. Okay. I hold it on tension. We've already straight line ripped this, so we know that's a good edge, and it's as simple as this. Watch. And what I always do is I always do this as a witness mark, because we will take this to our MFT3, and I know that's my 90.
Perfect. All right, so I'm trying to cut some 45s with my Tracksaw, not having the best success.
Okay, that's a very common question too, and it's not about the saw. It's easy to set up the angle. It's about the finesse of using it. Okay. So I'll show you. So on this saw, it's easy. You loosen a knob here, and there's one back here, and you take it, and there's a positive stop at 45. I lock the back first, and then I come up here and lock this, and that's exactly 45. Now, watch. That wants to fall off, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So when you're cutting a 45, and I hear this question all the time that you just posed, is, especially with a 75, that is a really top-heavy saw, when you're cutting waterfalls. Okay, so once again, I'm going to grab this, but look where my hand is. Oh. It's right here on the base or the sole, and it's a simple cut just like this. Not good dust extraction on 45, but it doesn't matter, because come in here, cameraman Chris. Look how crisp that is. Wow. That is absolutely perfect, and I can guarantee you that's a perfect 45.
Beautiful.
The saw wants to tilt off, and even if I've seen some other track saws that have an anti-tilting device, but the problem is there's still a little bit of play. You want, and a telltale sign is you want a nice point on there. You do not want a flat.
Okay.
Okay? Because that flat is caused by that, the deflection in the saw coming off of the rail.
Oh, okay. Good to know. All right, Sedge, so I know you've showed me probably more than once how to set depth on the Tracksaw. Can you show me again? Wicked simple this time.
Okay. So, see this right here? This is known as a depth stop. And what happens is when you plunge the saw, this piece hits it, just like this. See that? Okay, now, there's a scale here. See it? And it's in metric and imperial. And you have these two little cursors. Don't bother with those. zero out the saw like I always do. I'm going to take the depth set, bring it down here, and you see how I have this, and I have it in that curve? Okay? That's where I want to cut to. So then I move the depth stop up to that piece of magnesium aluminum, and that's all I need. And if I want to go just a little deeper to go fully through it, I'll add just a couple clicks below. That's how you set depth. Always zero it out on a piece that you're going to be cutting with on the track.
Sounds good. All right, Sedge, so I understand all of this, but this little guy back here, what's that for?
Okay, it spins, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a micro adjust. So why do you use micro adjust? I use it for kerf cutting in case I want to do a radius toe kick.
Oh.
Here, I'll show you. So when we look at this cursor, okay, I'm going to bring it up. When you see FS, that's including the guide rail, which is 5 millimeters. I'm going to bring it up to about 19 millimeters because that's 3/4 or 18. And I'm going to do a test cut.
Okay.
So I just did that test cut. I had it set at 19 or 18 millimeter. Okay, I'm going to lift it up. And of course, look at that. I've cut a little bit there, and maybe that was my pressure, but I'm right on that veneer.
Oh, wow.
So what I want to do is I'll bring it back, and sometimes it just takes a couple back and forths, but I'm going to adjust this. Now, if that gets in the way, because I got big fingers, on the very top of it, there's a little recess that's 5 millimeters. So I'm going to take this and bring it up this way, because I was cutting completely through, and I'll make another cut. Oh, let's look at that one. That one's even better. See? That little fine adjustment, I'm right on the veneer. So this is why you use kerf cutting. So you always got to be careful of the plywood as well, because there's sometimes undulations in the plywood, so you want to go a little bit thicker, but I usually try to cut it just above the veneer. So with that kerf cutting, I can do perfect radius toe kicks. And sometimes I just like to cut corners.
All right, Sedge, when I'm cutting some small material, I feel like there's a little bit of deflection in
Okay. Sometimes the obvious is not so obvious. What I like to do a lot of the times, if that bothers me, I just take a small piece the same thickness and I completely support it across the rail like that. This is just a sacrificial piece. I'm not going to cut it because I'm going to start it right about here anyhow.
Nice.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So maybe that had to answer some of your questions.
I'd say so.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Over the years, you're still going to have those questions. I might know the answers, I might not, but we'll figure it out together. You knew all of the tips and tricks I went through today with you. It's just we've combined them in one place for the viewer. I'll tell you what, in the 20 years I've been messing around with the Tracksaw, to this day, it's the same questions over and over and over, and I think we covered them in this video. So, as we always say in the SedgeTool shop,
Be positive.
stay sharp, wicked sharp.